Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Left Unread, the show with two hosts and one title.
And one cat.
There's only one cat betwixt us.
So he is sitting right at me, and he's expecting. He needs the head. Actually, he wants some of my Charleston Chew. That's what he wants.
I don't blame him. We were just talking before we started the show about what a good candy Charleston Chews are.
Charleston Chews.
I don't know if Charleston Chews are... I'm assuming at this point that they are national, but I think, I was just telling Evan, I think they're from around here.
Yeah. And there's a lot of Charlestons in the country. So...
Yeah.
Could be.
There are.
Could be West Virginia. Could be South Carolina.
Well, it's named after the dance, not after a destination.
It does seem like a Boston snack.
I think so.
It seems like a Boston snack.
It does, but it's then it got sold to Nabisco. That's the company. So I was just telling Evan that. Well, I've met the former owners of Charleston Chew.
Yeah.
And yeah, anyhow, they're nice people. And it's a good candy, old school candy. Nougat.
Yeah.
Chocolate, nougat, marshmallowy.
Nice and easy.
Yeah, it's good.
I like candies like that, like cowtails. Cowtails are good. I like cowtails.
Goatsies.
I love dude.
Well, Goatsies the company.
I love spreading the goatsy, between my cheeks.
That's also, I've got and I have to assume that this was intentional, my background image, because this is a more recent shot of, well, let's start the show. Let's just start the show.
Yeah, let me get a bite of my
get a bite of your Charleston Chew, and then and while you're eating it, because of course we play.
This is Left Unread ASMR for the Charleston Chew edition.
We play the theme song in real time and listen to it as we record. So this will give Evan time to eat his Charleston Chew,
chew upon my Charleston,
to chew upon his own Charleston, to suckle upon his sweet, and
its nectars. Yeah.
And then by the time the theme music's done, which is of course playing right now as we're speaking,
yep,
we'll be back. Okay, so...
Delicious.
Yeah, I can only imagine. So, lots of things to talk about, aside from the Charleston Chew, believe it or not. First of which being, so a few things happened this past week. So, I know I have this habit of promising folks that certain things will happen at certain times.
Yeah, we should start.
I just need to never ever, because I feel like it's a jinx. Like, I feel like if I say next week we're gonna do this thing,
I also feel like when you say it, it's a jinx.
Yeah, I have a feeling that you probably blame a lot of problems with this show on me, but that's a later.
I do not.
But so
it's probably pretty 50-50.
Yeah, that seems to be the case. But yeah, so. Two things happened. One, and I'll let Evan describe this to you, but Evan got a wild case of the galloping crud, and it laid him low. And then I was like, oh well, I can finish part 5 of the Mongols, but the books that I had requested from the library were delayed, and then the library was closed because apparently. Librarians feel like they are entitled to functioning air conditioning during the summer,
librarians have had it too good for too fucking long.
Yeah, they really have. So they closed, and then whatever. So I didn't get my books until today. I've been using two main sources for the first bunch of episodes, but now that the scope of things is expanding, so is the scope of my research, and so I just didn't leave myself enough time. I didn't get my books on time, so yeah, we can talk about
mine. All right,
Evan's illness.
Usually Cam's the one who's going on about the diarrheal episodes, although I believe I've talked about the first time I got norovirus.
Listen, man, you don't have to lead off on your description of your bodily functions by saying, hey, before I talk about my body, just keep in mind that this is usually, that Cam's the gross one. No,
it's true.
Not today. Dude, I smell great.
Yeah.
Everything's been fine with me.
Well, I smell great, but I didn't a few days ago.
You look lighter.
Yeah.
Like in your face. You can see it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I lost like 10 pounds.
It's water weight, bro. You can see it.
Yeah.
It's freaky.
I lost like 10 pounds in like 3 days. So I got norovirus again this weekend. I assume it was. At first I thought it was food poisoning, but my poor bastard of a roommate, I'll get to that part of the story. So Sunday, I wake up. I'm supposed to go see fucking Barbie with a friend of the pod, Patrick.
Yeah.
And I wake up at like, it's like 9 in the morning. I get up and I feel fine, but it is, just straight to diarrhea. Like I'm just shitting liquid.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, okay, what the fuck? So I get on the toilet, and my shower's right next to my toilet, and I just start projecting. Like the second I hit the toilet, bam, projectile vomiting into my fucking shower, and I'm just like, what the fuck's going on here? And like, I don't feel sick at this point.
And you don't even have your old dog Boris there to help you out.
Yeah. Oh, trust me, Mercedes was quite interested in the puke.
Oh,
but like, so I'm like, and I don't even feel sick, but I'm just like, what the fuck? And so that's done. And I go downstairs and I take a shower first, but then I go downstairs and lay on the couch. And I grab my big thing of water that I was talking about in the last episode, and I drink. I just like chug the whole thing, or not chug the whole thing, but I drink it. Over like 20 minutes, and that whole fucking thing comes up. Like it starts coming up as I'm getting off the couch, and I run to the bathroom, and basically the second I open the door, boom! I just like projectile vomit all over my downstairs bathroom. I'm just like, what the fuck is going on here? And like
the downstairs bathroom's not a good place to puke.
No, because I'm
assuming none of you, or most of none of you, have
ever been. A few of you have definitely.
There's probably a few of you, but I also tend to assume that the vast majority of people that we know in person probably don't listen to our show that much, like past when we first started. And I don't blame them, because I wouldn't either if it was like friends of mine. But
no, I definitely got some homies that listen to every episode, and they'll text me right afterward, like to talk about parts of it.
I think I have two.
Yeah.
We actually turned a lot of people that I work with off to our show. You did specifically very early on in the run of this show, and I've been only recently have I been told that. I had a couple people who I didn't realize were like staunch patriots.
Yeah,
telling me
my first episode
they would listen to my show if I hosted it with someone else. Because in the first episode, Evan refers to the nuclear bombings of Japan as a cowardly act, which I also endorse.
Yeah,
that take.
So does Oppenheimer.
The movie, and they were just like, "Yeah, I don't agree with that." And I was like, "All right, fair enough." But just so you know, like I don't know, I also agree. Yeah. So I don't know. So you've been canceled, sir.
Yeah, I've been canceled by the Newtonian hordes. But regardless, so like, dude, I'm like, I paint my fucking goddamn downstairs bathroom, and I still don't really like feel sick. Although it's slowly it was like with each vomit came like another my health meter was like draining with each vomit, and then finally at one point, dude, like I'm just like laying on the couch, and my roommate's dog, she's a pit bull, she's like 80 pounds, and she's like the sweetest dog on earth, and she wants to be a lap dog, but again she's like 80 pounds,
right?
But she'll just like lay right on top of you, and she can tell I'm like struggling, so she just gets up and lays on me and is just staring at me. I'm like, dude, Mercedes, please don't lay on me. And then all of a sudden, I feel it come up, but she's like on top of me while I'm laying on the couch. I'm like, get up! I can't get her up in time. I just turn over and I fucking arc, projectile vomit over my goddamn coffee table in my living room. Thankfully, we had just pulled up the rug.
I was gonna say.
So it's just wood floor.
Okay.
Because she had an accident on it, so we had to pull it up anyway.
Well, good, because then you had an accident.
Yeah. Dude, and so and I'm just puking all over the place, and like, finally I have to text Pat. I'm like, dude, I can't make it today. I think I have food poisoning or something. I was hoping it would clear up by noon, but I have spent the last 3 hours vomiting like upwards of like 10 to 15 times. Ugh. And so at this point, I'm going to call it, I'm going to throw in the towel, not going to make it to the 3 p.m. Barbie.
Yeah.
And then it starts really hit me. So like, I'm like so fucking thirsty. And I can't keep anything down whatsoever. Eventually, my roommate comes home, and he runs and grabs me some Gatorades. And after puking a couple more times, I was able to start keeping those down. But then, like, there's at one point, like, dude, I was, like, delirious by, like, Sunday night. Because I was just, like, now, at this point, I'm feverish.
Yeah.
I'm going in between, like, chills and, like, being, like, insanely hot. And so, like, I can't get comfortable. I've got, like, restless legs going on. I'm just, like, either pouring sweat or, like, insanely fucking cold.
I don't know what that's like. I'm always insanely hot and chill at the same time. So
yeah, nice. But and so like I'm going like delirious because of this, because I'm also so thirsty and I can't eat. Yeah. And like at one point my mom texted me like, because like I'd like mentioned to her that I was sick, whatever, and she's like texting me a bunch of questions. I can't even fucking look at my phone because now my head's like feels like it's caving in. And like so I put my phone down, and then all of a sudden I realized that I'm sitting there answering the text out loud, mumbling to myself on the couch while writhing in pain. Jesus. But like not calling her. I'm just like, dude, what the fuck am I doing? Like I was just like deliriously like mumbling about shit. Yeah. You know what I mean? And then this went on for like 2 days.
And then the illness symptoms started. And so that was a healthy Evan, and then wait till you hear what it was like once he got sick.
Yeah. But yeah, so anyway, had a very bad couple days there.
Yeah, man, that sounds awful.
I still didn't get to see Barbie. Pat loved Barbie. He said it was great.
I mean, listen, anybody who's got any kind of opinion that I care even a little bit about says the movie's a good movie. It's really funny. I've heard a few interesting negative opinions, and a lot of them you've all heard, so it's no real sense like getting into, right? And I know some of you are probably sitting at home thinking, "Oh, sure, Evan, sure, you got sick. Are you sure you didn't just catch a little disease called
toxic masculinity?
Called toxic masculinity, called Ben Shapiro-itis, and you just forgot that women can get wet and decided not to go see it." No, don't worry, guys. Evan's chill. I know that sometimes you might wonder about him, but he's cool as fuck. So he definitely, that's not it. But I heard a woman. My first bad take from a woman recently, and she was describing to
the only bad take that's come out of a woman's mouth recently. It's been all smooth sailing.
No, just about Barbie. The only personal bad take that I've heard from a woman about Barbie.
Okay.
Came a couple days ago when I overheard a woman describing, like, yeah, it was pretty good, but then it got like weird and really like it just, I feel like it made me think too much, and I just didn't like it. And I was like, yeah, Jesus, girl. Like, you don't, like, no, there aren't any, like, weirdo guys around for you to pull the pick me shit with. Like, I don't know why you're doing that. And if your take is that it made you think even a little bit, I really liked Mark Maron, who isn't always, I like him. He doesn't always make me laugh, but he had a good take on Barbie, and he was like, I liked it, and it was cool. It had some really nice, like, neatly packaged, basic, like, intro-level feminist ideology, very effectively conveyed through the plot of the movie, which is great. I think a lot of people who don't have experience with that would benefit from that. And he's like, and honestly, like, they're not that mean to men in the movie. Like, if you're a dude and you have a hard time taking the fucking knocks that they give us in this movie, like, you should probably look in your pants and make sure there's a dick in there or something like that. Like, you're maybe not as much of a man as you think you are. And I get it, that's like gendered language, but I thought it was fair because, like, they really don't bash on the boys too hard. Like, they do, but even, like, the archetype character of, like, masculinity in the movie is, like, one of the most lovable characters you'll ever see. So if you can't handle that, I mean, they play with kids' gloves, so I'm excited for you to see it. I think that you'll enjoy it.
Yeah, I want to see it in theaters, so I'm gonna.
It's fun. You should go. I mean, go see a matinee or something. At this point, it's not. I think
that was the one nice thing is that these were matinee tickets, so they're only like $10. So I didn't really miss that one too much.
Yeah.
But I also did want to see Pat, and I feel bad. So if Pat, I know we've talked about it, but if you're listening to this, sorry, bro. We'll have to make more plans.
He texted me right before this and was like, dude, I'm not sorry, but don't give it away on air because I'm going to tell him I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry, dude.
Yeah.
He bought it hook, line, and sinker. I was at Hooters. Not for the
Hooters
wings,
with the boys.
brother. Not for the wings, if you know what I mean.
I was there for the breasts.
I asked
the chicken
every
breasts.
single waitress to sit on my lap, and none of them did it. It was awesome.
Yeah.
Did I tell you
they were so fucking
that was
mean.
One interesting thing that I saw when I was in Nicaragua was that there's a Hooters in Managua.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I just thought that was cool. We didn't get to go. I can't imagine that would have been a great time.
Traveling all the way to Managua to go to fucking Hooters,
sure.
dude.
And the thing is, in Nicaragua, I'm sure that there's like enough financial incentive to work at Hooters that it actually is like what the advertisement of Hooters in North America wants you to expect when you go in. Mm-hmm. Like, there are probably supermodels working at the Nicaraguan Hooters, you know? Mm-hmm. Instead of just like girls from your hometown who are also beautiful in every way, but you know.
Well, every woman's beautiful,
because of course they are.
Every woman's beautiful.
Yeah, man. I agree. So, So Evan was sick, and I just didn't have enough time.
It was a bona fide barforama, bud.
What'd you say?
It was a bona fide barforama, bud.
Yeah, you had a case of the pukes.
Yeah.
But so
it was like that. So like that scene from Stand By Me, except I was every single person at the pie eating contest, just puking. Mm-hmm. They were all me.
Yeah. Great movie.
Yeah,
I haven't seen that movie since I was a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, really. Wouldn't make that up just for laughs on the show. That's true. Haven't seen it in a long time.
I don't think it would have gotten too many laughs.
Believe it or not.
That would have been a shit tier joke, bud.
Luckily, there's some stuff going on in the world. Mm-hmm. And so we're going to talk about
They kept it interesting for us.
Somebody's bandit and their heart becomes your loot. What kind of player does that make you? Breaking your hearts and selling them too. You picked me in a pawn shop. I was used but good as new. Shiny as a tattoo, but permanent as party balloons. To me one morning, this is why I'm always broken. You never did end up showing. I'm not a liquidated acid, I'm sharper than a jewel. What kind of miner does that make you? When I'm the gold and you're just
the first thing that I wanted to talk about, just because this is developing and will likely still be developing when this show releases.
I think I know what you're going to talk about, too.
In Niger, which I think is fascinating, and I'm sure you have some takes on that.
Yeah.
But just the basics, I mean, for those of you who are not familiar, so Niger, which is a West African country in the Sahel region, so surrounded by Mali, Burkina Faso, etc., etc. Recently, or until recently, was sort of the last holdout bastion of, like, vehemently pro-Western
no, there's other pro-Western states there, though.
What do you say?
A lot of the other states on the coast and whatnot are pro-West.
But in that economic region, there's big power players, and this was one of the last of those large countries. If you go further down the coast, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
But I'm talking about specifically the Sahel region, and there's an economic region there, like that. This was sort of like the last and most powerful bastion of Western pro-Western government, because in the last 10 years there have been like 5 successful coup d'etats in countries there, most recently and notably in Mali and Burkina Faso. And so there was last week what started as an attempted coup and is rapidly developing into a successful coup d'etat when the first quote-unquote democratically elected president of Niger, a man named Mohamed Bazoum, was shot in the head by his own guards in the palace, and a military coup was commenced, and the country has since been seized by one General Omar and his cadre of military leaders. Now, this has been interesting. Niger, like a huge amount of countries in that region of Africa, has been under the French colonial sphere since the late 19th and early 20th century, and only actually gained true independence, nominal independence in 1960. But has remained under the economic thumb of France to this day.
With really America as its sort of like kind of like henchman as well, you know.
Yeah, well, that's a fair point for all of these European countries that maintain strong cultural and economic ties.
They maintain it with the with the might of the United States backing
it helps to have us there and have that sort of like NATO alliance of countries, you know. It's one of the main ways that we are able to ensure that those countries will sort of stay in lockstep when we call for things like the whatever war on terror. As we say, well, hey, look, like, we'll make sure that those fucking pesky Nigerians don't try to...
Yeah, you'll still keep getting to be able to rip them off for all their gold.
So gold is one thing, and uranium is another thing that are mined extensively in Niger, and the flow of those is pretty one-directional. The uranium and gold mined in Niger lands overwhelmingly in the hands of the French. Now, in recent years, there have been major attempts at inroad making by the Chinese government and the Russian government in Africa, right? Now, Africa has just been getting absolutely fucking raped for its natural resources by every world power that's been able to do it for as long as, you know...
Since the dawn of colonialism.
Right. And so I don't want there to be any misconception about, you know, the motives of those other big countries when they go into Africa. But what's interesting is they are taking what seems to a lot of Western nations to be a fairly radical approach, meaning there's, at least in these introductory years, there has been much more willingness to cooperate with local governments and to seed profits back into the infrastructure of the countries where China and Russia, but especially China, develop, right? And I think that there's an understanding there that will lead to a much more fruitful long-term relationship with these countries, even though you're still trying to pump them for everything they've got. If you at least let some of the fucking stuff that you're milking from there trickle back into the economy, you look better immediately than the fucking West and the United States.
Yeah. And as I haven't really made qualms before about talking about my support of this current government of China, but this isn't like they're really not doing it for a moral reason. You know what I mean? There's a multipolarity being built here, and part of that is turning a lot of these places towards their pole. And like you'll see, Ibrahim Traore, who's currently the leader of Burkina Faso, is going on record and saying when Russia and China come to Africa, they come as partners. Not right. America, which America, when it comes there, they're taking all of your shit, and you're getting nothing, and you're gonna fucking like it.
Exactly, and that's again, I think you would probably agree.
And you see the same things being said with Evo Morales in Bolivia.
Yeah,
he says the same thing. Lula da Silva in Brazil, he says the same thing. Right. All of these people, a lot of these countries that have moved away from the West and the global South, they'll all say the same thing. China and Russia come, and for decades, going back to the Soviet Union, they've come as partners. Right. And you'll see the same thing too with there's still good sentiment in a lot of African countries for Russia because of the Soviet days, because of the Soviet Union supporting their a lot of their independence movements against the West. Of course, they had an ulterior motive to do that, but they still did it.
They still did it. There is still an ulterior motive. I think it'll be interesting to look back on this in and I say this a lot, but I'm always thinking of future historians and how they'll view these events. It'll be interesting to see if that approach from China and Russia stays the same, if it's just a current tactic to lure former colonial holdings away from the West, which frankly I can't imagine is especially hard to do, because our track record in Africa is...
All you have to do is not kill them.
Right, exactly. Well, so that's the other thing. It's the bar is set so tremendously low.
There's no bar. There's not even a bar. We've just gone there and, like you said, we've just raped them.
Yeah. And so any amount of cooperation that's more than that, any degree of humanitarian aid or whatever, that seems even slightly altruistic on the part of the Chinese, the Russian government, is just immediately going to pull support away. So now, of course, France is crying foul, accusing Russia of engaging in an information war in the Sahel region, which of course they are, but they're winning, right? And the fact that in mainstream media this entire coup is being treated as some sort of dirty pool by Russia and China to lure our fairly won spoils away from us if you listen to the reports on it, it's so surface level. There's
the thing that's crazy is you see this and no, we didn't get rid of slavery. We just said fine, we'll keep the slaves still in Africa.
Right.
That's basically what the West has done.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? It's my God, we still to this day will not just leave the fucking region alone. We'll just not leave those fucking poor people alone.
When was the last time you ate a piece of Hershey's chocolate? Or any mass-produced chocolate product?
Right now.
A couple minutes ago? Yeah, you know that was... Those cocoa beans were picked by child slaves, right?
Exactly.
It's the way that
it's like I've said before, too, where World War III already happened, it was just outsourcing slavery to the global South. Yeah. That was the whole purpose of the Cold War and World War III, as I think it should be understood as.
And now it's just interesting to see commentators from the West, from France, from the United States, et cetera, pointing to this and saying, "Well, you think that Russia has your best interests at heart?" It's nah, it doesn't even fucking matter. They're just slightly better than ours, and at this point.
Doesn't matter. They don't want us there. They want them there.
Right. how are you going to begrudge
so
them
what,
that?
how do we have any?
Yeah, you're fucking right. They're playing. They're engaging in an information war, and they're winning because the message is better for the people on the ground in those countries. Now, the other side of the coin is this: there is a long history of political violence in much of Africa, frankly, and that also has its roots in colonial era partition of regions and ignoring of cultural lines, et cetera, much like was done in the Middle East. Basically just saying like, hey, you're all from Nigeria now, you're all this is a country now.
Well, this is the Congo, this is the Democratic Republic of the Congo.
Figure it out. And so, there's cultural, there's religious reasons for violence, there's political reasons for violence, and there's no reason to expect that like there aren't people involved in this coup, probably up to the highest levels, who don't have like great motives, who aren't doing it for like amazing reasons. Yeah. But I think the point that Evan made is a salient one. It's like, at what point do we look at it and say, well, it doesn't really fucking matter because they don't want us there.
Yeah.
And that seems to be kind of ubiquitous. The only people that want us there are members of a sort of old guard that is vastly unpopular. And
or the people who want us to put them in power.
Right. And, there are now talks between France, between the U.S. There's been posturing. My guess is this won't occur. I'm hoping that this won't occur, but who knows, about military intervention. I heard some reports from several French MPs where they were saying, if the request came from the right channels, we would consider intervening. We'll see. Who knows? And if France intervenes, you know what that means. Whether there's American boots on the ground or not, there's American money involved. So that, if France is going to go into Africa...
Which means it's not going to be so good for Ukraine, because then we'll have to be sending, some more supplies of our military aid, which we've basically run out of sending to Ukraine. If we have to split it then... Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. It's an interesting debacle. And frankly, I just think that it's everybody.
It is. Yeah. Well, sorry.
Well, no, I was just going to say it's a very sort of surface level, very on the nose example of modern day imperialism at play, and I just think that a lot of the things that Evan and I talk about in the past tense on this show are playing out in real time right now, and it's very the bringing up Ukraine's a good point because it's the way that it's handled in the media is there's way less attempt at any kind of tact when dealing with Africa. People want to talk about all kinds of floofy ideals and things when they talk about Ukraine, right? When they talk about why we're sending money into Ukraine, why we're so obsessed with sending military aid to Ukraine. Because Ukrainians are white, right? They're from Europe, and the message by necessity is softer, is more palatable to people. They don't even bother with that shit when they're talking about Niger, because most people don't give a fuck about Niger. Don't even know where the fuck Niger is.
They don't even know where it is.
When people see Nigerians, they're probably as apt to think Nigerians, which is like a totally different part of the fucking world. But it's a really good opportunity. I encourage you all, not because it's necessarily good journalism, but I encourage you all to look up and listen to a few reports from mainstream media sources on this event, like the BBC, NPR, but definitely listen to what CNN has to say. Listen to what the Wall Street Journal is a good one. The Economist. These are where you're going to hear just right out in the open, really, really pretty blunt talking about divvying up the spoils of colonialism and why it's unfair for Russia to try to yank our... What'd you say?
It was like that guy on CNN at the start of the Ukrainian war who accidentally said, it's crazy seeing this happen in a white European city.
Yeah.
It was that. But regardless, I also had another point for bringing up the Ukraine thing, because I would also say, I don't think these are fucking discrete events. You see what's going on in Ukraine, and then... maybe there was some push, maybe a little bit by Russia and China. I don't know. I don't want to say that I know that there is.
What in
Niger?
But
if you see the waning hegemony of the U.S. in Ukraine, and the way that a country that sided with the West in Ukraine is now basically just can't exist anymore without Western money, all of a sudden you go, oh, the West is tying up a lot of a lot of resources in there. So much so that they're running out of aid to send and asking other countries like Colombia and Peru and shit to send tanks and stuff to Ukraine. All of a sudden, all right, what if we open up another little front to see how much the hegemony has waned?
Yeah,
and that's happening here.
Can they
now
afford...
what happens when they
it's
split?
Like,
I mean,
like
they're
playing a
like
game
Ukraine...
of CK3, right? And you always know when you've reached like a sort of an event horizon in CK3. Like, so one of my favorite CK3 runs, I ended up basically conquering 2/3 of the globe and reforming Rome, all that stuff. And I reached a point.
I just want to say, talking about geopolitics and of course bringing it to fucking Paradox. But anyway,
oh yeah, they're the best.
I know.
So I reached a point where I was so powerful that I could afford to launch multiple simultaneous offensives when I was invading new... it was always kingdoms or empires at that point. I was just carving out... I was trying to get as much as I could before the end date, right?
Yeah.
And the best thing that you can do is like, all right, well, you send like your main force towards the capital. Of course they're going to try to stop you there. And then you just send the smaller force with all your siege engines in and just start gobbling up cities. They can't stop you on both fronts. And it's exactly the same thing. It's like they're testing the perimeter. All right, look, they're putting all this money into Ukraine. Can they stop us if we go for fucking Niger?
Yeah.
Probably not. And
if we can turn all of West Africa into our sphere.
And what is that? What message does that send to the rest of West Africa?
Yeah.
That we're no longer the fucking meanest dog in the fight.
That the U.S. can't help you.
Or at the very least that we won't right now. You know? We're more evenly matched than we'd like to admit.
We're not as omnipotent as we've made ourselves out to be.
As powerful as the U.S. military is. And I do think that the U.S. military is still the most powerful military on Earth. I think that's probably not up for debate. But it probably is up for debate, but I don't think that those debates are especially credible. But it's not... I mean,
there was that rant...
We don't have the power to actually police the globe. We can't. Who could?
Yeah.
I
mean, there was the RAND report that came out that said that by 2025, the United States, China, militarily, that there would not be a clear, a clear path to victory for the U.S. And by 2030, there would probably be no path to victory and, a straight-up confrontation between China and the U.S., especially, in terms of China's Navy as they're overhauling it.
Yeah.
So...
Well, and again, so, what's in Niger?
Yeah.
Bullion.
Yep.
And uranium.
Yeah. But yeah, and so you're seeing a lot of countries in South America, again, resource-heavy countries that are going to that sphere because, again, they have partners. They're not just being taken advantage of.
Right.
And West Africa as well. These are very resource-heavy regions. But yeah, that's why I brought up the Ukraine thing. I don't think these are discrete events. I think fucking a bell's been rung. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden it's like, okay, the U.S. isn't... We don't think they've got the fucking balls that they've been barking that they have for a few decades now. We think that they may actually be pretty... it may be possible to take bites out of their influence,
Mm-hmm. And it is. And here's the thing. I want to reiterate, I don't kid myself, and I don't know how you feel about this, but I don't kid myself that, the People's Republic of China is some benevolent. I mean, it's a world power government, and you get that way. You get that way by whether you do it in a nicer way or a meaner way. You get that way by exploiting weaker nations, right? And so I'm not making the case that they're some golden, Well, I was just going to say, it's not that I think either deal that any of these countries are getting, if they're choosing between the U.S. or China or Russia, is, the best deal for those countries. Let me put it that way. Because ideally, those countries would just be allowed to remain autonomous and benefit as much as possible from their own resources on their own terms. But the deals are sufficiently better that it makes all the sense in the world for them to pick one direction over the other.
Well, I'm also not thinking about it in terms of countries like that. I'm thinking... It's a Marxist-Leninist government in China, so I support China because they're a Marxist-Leninist government, and I am a Marxist-Leninist. And I also think that there's that China's path and what they're going for is better for the international working class than, obviously, for the United States. And therefore, I think that what they're doing is better for somebody like me, a member of the international working class. And so,
yeah, no, and I'm not taking a stance on that either way. And I do think that it's worth looking at, you know, when you say like the deal is better, it's like, well, which is either deal great, you know?
Well, right now the United States just rapes the resources of the entire world, and puts people into slavery for it.
So any deal is better than that deal. But I'm just saying it's not like it's not like it's
I'm also saying that
deal.
things take time. Things are baby steps.
Well,
it's not
sure.
just about what's happening right now, but you have to look at the long game that China's playing. And I think, especially right now, under the leadership of Xi Jinping, the goal is for, international proletarian, revolution.
I hope so. I mean, I hope so. I really do. I don't think that I've ever shared your optimism on that front. But I mean, the longer that he's in power and the more moves that are made in that direction by his government, I think that they're establishing a track record that's interesting and beginning to speak for itself.
Yeah.
But I am not one to just outright, and I'm not saying you are, I'm speaking for myself.
Yeah, I mean, I used to not support China, like 3 years ago.
Yeah, I think the last couple of years their PR has been very good. And again, it'll just be interesting to see what's behind that, like how genuine that is. Because, we've had eras of our history where our PR was a fuck ton better than it is right now. And America had moments where it looked like it could be that sort of shining city on the hill that we've always pretended we were, and then, 20, 30 years later, it falls flat. So it'll just be interesting. I don't think
the U.S. ever did look like that, but
I think to a lot of people it did.
No,
I'm not saying it looked like that to you, but I think to a lot of people it did. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
Globally, I think to a lot of people, the U.S. looked.
For the rest of the world, or for other parts of the world, sure, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we had Radio Free Europe and Radio Free Asia. We still have Radio Free Asia.
Mm-hmm.
Really broadcasting that message. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, soon the power of K-pop will destroy that, so it won't matter.
Yeah.
I didn't wanna say it, thought it would occur to you. I tried to just forget it wasn't something I could do. I never wanna let it get to where it got with you. Now I can't depend on you. Lately, I've been home
Or Mando pop, Canto pop. What? That's what Jackie Chan's a canto pop guy.
Really?
I don't know if he still puts out albums, but Jackie Chan's a pop star, right?
I didn't know that.
So you remember the movie Mulan?
I've never seen Mulan.
You've never seen Mulan?
No, I never really liked Disney movies, man.
That's interesting. Some of them are really good. Mulan was a fun movie.
I was never a Disney kid. I liked Jurassic Park. I liked the Lost World Jurassic Park when I was a kid.
Yeah, I mean, me too.
Those were,
but when I was a little kid, yeah, the Beauty and the Beast, it's a good ass movie. I saw that movie not too long ago. Shit made me tear up. It's fucking beautiful. But so Mulan is, the new Mulan I haven't seen, but the old animated Mulan I saw when I was a kid. And there's this famous song everybody knows. Evan obviously isn't going to know it, but let's get down to business. Right, you'll recognize it if you've seen the movie. Most of you, I'm assuming, have. And in China, Jackie Chan voices the male lead in the movie who sings that song. And he sings his own songs in the movie. Oh, nice. And there's a music video of him singing it in Cantonese. And it's just interspersed like clips of the movie, but then just like him, who at that point was probably in his like late 40s, maybe early 50s, just like doing like kung fu moves. Nice. And he's singing the Mulan song in Chinese. He's a fucking huge pop star. He's put out like 10 albums. He's got hits, dude.
Nice.
And here's the thing. It's not like he has some surprisingly awesome voice. Yeah. He sounds like Jackie Chan singing songs.
All right, well,
it's an interesting thing to watch, and I don't know. I might be a little more cautious about stuff like that than Evan is, but I think that he's right so far. And so it'll be interesting to see if that course stays, and I know you're hoping that it does, and I guess I am too. I mean, frankly, ideologically, I would love if that was the case. I would love if China fucking works itself into like a legitimate fucking force for true Marxist-Leninism globally. That'd be pretty fucking sweet, and keep playing your cards right, I guess. You can convince all the fucking half-assers like me.
Yeah.
Because all the fucking internet fucking weirdos like Evan are already on board, so if you could get the rest of us.
Shouts out our homie at Juchi Kool-Aid, who is always on the Xi Jinping beat.
Yeah. Yeah, man. And what's the dude's the Twitter god, the Chinese Twitter god?
It's Chen Weiwa.
Yeah, dude.
Victims of Chen Weiwa Memorial Foundation.
he's next level, man.
Dude. China's got the best propaganda, dude. People's Daily is like the best fucking. It's just like a Chinese propaganda Twitter page, and it's like their newspaper, but it's just like great shit. It's just like red pandas like being fed bamboo.
Yeah,
and like it's just all these like cute animals, and then just like trains and shit like that. It's like, dude, hell yes.
What do you think about? So speaking of, there was
is the best propaganda ever.
Have you?
It's like, how can you not support them?
Are you familiar with the Chinese zoo sun bear controversy?
Yeah, I'm sorry, dude. If you think that that's a human in a bear suit, like
0%, it's a bear.
Not you. I mean, but dude, you are like room temperature IQ.
Yeah, horrible. But. It's
China's the only country in the world that would have to do that.
That would have to be like, no, these are bears. They're actual bears.
They're native to our country.
Yeah.
Like, this would, like, they're outside here.
They're not really. There is some
they're
conjecture
endangered.
that there might be, like, fringe populations of sun bear in very, very, very southern China. But they're mostly from,
they're
Malaysia,
mostly,
Thailand,
like, South,
Vietnam,
Malaysia,
Yeah, and they are endangered, so whatever. Any efforts to preserve endangered species. I will say Chinese zoos usually look like even whacker than ours. So I hope I hope that in the course of, if they're not going to just abolish zoos altogether, which they should do, in the course of their, rapid development, I hope zoos get a little bit of that that zhuzh.
Well, I'm not really sure. Just because like zoos are like a good place for like creature to like help populations of creatures. I just think that they should be better cared.
I think that we just need to redefine what we're talking about. And I think that the concept of a zoo should go away. I think nature preserves are a good thing, and I think if there's a way to incorporate, because I do think it's the same reason that I will always love nature documentaries.
They're
because
great
they keep
educational.
humans empathizing and interested.
Yeah.
You know, and there's always conversation about like, oh, they amp up the drama, they personify animals. It's like, well, look, if that keeps people giving a shit what happens to the flying fish, then you know, is it a little hokey? Sometimes, but is it also like inherently excellent television? Yeah. And if it makes people give a shit that the polar bears don't have ice to live on anymore, fuck it. Tell a little story, you know? Make it seem like you followed one polar bear around and found him catch a seal.
And that's not just like 10 different ones.
10 different polar bears, and you filmed for a year to get the seal and all that. Yeah, it's whatever. Like, just suspend your disbelief and invest yourself in the saga of the bear.
Just fucking smoke a joint and look at some fucking cool animals hanging
And so if zoos, and again, I think part of this is just a branding thing. I think that they should stop being called zoos because it's associated with like a theme park mentality. And I don't think that should be a thing. And I do think that there are some animals like chimpanzees who might do fine in a true nature preserve setting, but who should not be in a zoo. Some animals might be fine in a zoo. Maybe a fucking giraffe doesn't give a shit. You know what I mean? You give it a lady giraffe and enough fucking food, and you treat it right. Maybe a giraffe doesn't give a shit, but I think chimps do. Have you ever seen chimps in a zoo? It's sad. They remember Africa.
Yeah.
You know, like you can see they're like, man, remember before this when this sucks.
I was ripping off dicks and balls and eating them with my my enemy.
Oh yeah, they're looking at
the
all the little kids
nutsack
that
of
come
my
in.
enemy, dude.
They're just like,
I was eating the nutsack of my enemies daily, and now I've got fucking Fred's grassy shit. That's all I've got.
Even if my enemies were sometimes my new girlfriend's old boyfriend's kids, they were my enemies. And
For that day, they were my fucking enemies.
Dude, chimps are the scariest fucking creatures.
I would not. I would love to meet a gorilla. Gorillas are pretty docile.
Yeah.
A chimp. I don't. Nah, man.
What was
I'm
that
sorry.
flick? What was that Jordan Peele flick that like just wasn't great? And I already forget the name.
Oh, Nope.
Nope. Yeah.
That's gonna. The fact that you said that wasn't great is gonna anger a lot of people. I as well think that it was merely good.
Yeah, it was fine.
And have been
I thought it was
flogged
well
for
acted.
that,
I have
and have been flogged for that opinion before. So
really,
yeah,
that it wasn't great.
Yeah,
it wasn't great.
For having the
previous
opinion that
movies
it was
were fucking
merely
amazing.
a good film. I have been flogged.
By who?
Oh, various people. A lot of people love that movie, dude. Like not just one.
Well, okay, so in my you know, and I'm way less of a movie guy than you, so pardon the fuck out of me, everyone. But yeah, I don't know. I just thought it wasn't particularly interesting or compelling. I thought the two leads were great. Keke Palmer fucking rules. It's well acted.
Yeah.
I've got no issues there.
Yeah, it was a good movie.
I thought the plot was kind of meh, and you know what? The alien looked really cool at the end. That like final vignette. I thought it had a cool Akira-inspired motorcycle slide. That was neat. Yeah. But the best part of the movie to me, the part that was the most
the scary part, was
scary because it was a horror movie. Let's not forget that. Was the chimp scene. The flashbacks, and then the scene where they like really, and they show the kid under the table, and dude, my heart was in my fucking throat, and I don't know why that wasn't more of the movie, because that was more compelling to me than the rest of it. So,
but anyway, speaking of animals,
okay. So
I think we wanna talk about a couple special brothers.
I think maybe it's time we talked a little bit about the best news story that's ever happened. So, hold on, let me just bring up
you can read it
specifically this article here,
because this one's good. We can close out the episode with this.
Oh my god! All right, so there's this. I just saw a second follow-up that I want to remember to.
Okay.
So I'll open that in the new tab. Okay, so you've probably all heard of this by now because this story came out on July 27th, and the event itself was a while ago, earlier in the year. But I just want to read. I'm just going to read the whole article. I think it's not very long, and. I don't know. It's very dark, but it's also super funny to me and to everyone.
Yep.
So hopefully you don't think less of us.
It's a very left unread story.
So this is a New York Post, specifically the Post. We've talked about last episode how much we like the Post now. We're Post guys now. And on episodes like
Post-game.
this, I think we're going to start trying to find the best New York Post articles to share with you. And so to kick that off for week 2, I guess, of that. You know what? Before we do this, content warning for the ensuing segment we're going to read. We are going to discuss, sexual violence betwixt animals.
Yeah, I'm not sure you could call it
and
assault.
Graphic. I don't know. They're not treating it that way, but it's like a natural but very brutal interaction between animals that I don't think we can hold to the same moral standard as us, but it might be upsetting to you.
It may still trigger some of the same emotions.
Yeah, it's intense, and it might bother you to hear it. 38-year-old Florida manatee dies after, quote, high-intensity sex with brother by Catherine Donlevy. Necropsy results revealed that 38-year-old Hugh, yes, as in Hugh Manatee, died in April after succumbing to traumatic injuries caused by a sexual encounter with another, larger male manatee at the facility, his brother, Buffett, as in Jimmy. One of the fatal injuries was a 14.5 centimeter rip in Hugh's colon, the USDA report obtained by ABC7 said. A fecal sample collected from Hugh after the encounter confirmed the presence of fresh blood, but employees at the Moat Marine Laboratory and Aquarium reportedly allowed the brothers to continue engaging in, quote, high-intensity interactions and occasional penetration throughout the day.
High-intensity interaction, but not quite penetration, but it was good.
Occasionally it got there.
Yeah.
At approximately 5:15 p.m., the larger male was observed penetrating the smaller male again. When the larger male swam away, the smaller male was seen unresponsive at the bottom of the pool. It was confirmed that he had passed, the USDA said. Handlers maintain that Hugh and Buffett had been engaging in consensual and, quote, natural mating behavior for 2 months leading up to Hugh's death. The months-long heightened sexual activity between the two brothers, the only manatees in the aquarium, was the first time the pair had been observed initiating and mutually seeking interactions from one another, Moat said in a statement Tuesday. There were no obvious signs of discomfort or distress, such as listing, crunching, or active avoidance, that would have triggered a need for intervention, according to Moat. Animal keepers allowed the pair to continue necking without attempts to separate the two, out of fear it would cause undue anxiety and negative effects in both manatees. Now, I'm going to shout out the Post here for use of the fucking archaic 1960s
necking,
term, necking.
Like they're going down to Lover's Lane.
To describe, like, hardcore anal butt fucking by manatees, dude. Wild choice of fucking words from the Post.
Hardcore incestuous anal fucking, dude.
Hardcore fucking brother on brother butt fucking at the zoo. Yeah, they were necking down there like a couple of hoodlums.
Yeah, they're going down the Lover's Lane and necking.
Experts tried redirecting Hugh and Buffett's attention from one another while heavily monitoring the two. AKA, somebody was just sitting there like, Jesus fucking Christ, they're going at it again. Oh,
it's been 10 fucking minutes.
That is some high-intensity butt fucking. So...
Man, Hugh and Buffett they are fucking going to town on each other's shit again.
Poor Hugh, it's always Hugh. So, on April 29th, animal staff noticed a significant change in Hugh's behavior, prompting them to collect the bloody stool sample. But they did not interfere with Buffett's continued efforts to mount his ailing brother.
Buffett, that's just the most insatiable, rapacious sexual appetite, dude.
Brother, my body is broken, brother.
Yeah.
I feel myself fading. I'm sorry, brother. But I
gotta bust.
I can't stop. Fine,
it's been 20 minutes since I last busted in you, okay?
Walk it off, you.
Yeah.
Moat claims its team had been adequately following protocol and veterinarian advice. And that is what we will continue to strive for, serving as a gold standard for animal health and well-being, as we have shown throughout our history, the aquarium said. Thank you for your continued support during this heartbreaking time. Our Moat family continues to mourn the loss of Hugh, and we know you do too. Both Hugh and Buffett have lived at the Moat Marine Mote Marine Laboratory and Aquarium in Sarasota since 1996, and the world's only 2 manatees to participate in voluntary, detailed behavioral research designed to aid manatee conservation, according to the institution. And I'm sure now you can add another first to their fucking record. First brothers to fuck each other to death in public. Jesus Christ. So the one of the best things about this is, like, the pictures on the article are, like, you know, really cute pictures of, like, human manatee interactions at the zoo, like, you know, and manatees are just the part of why this story to me is so fucking wild is because, like, who doesn't love a manatee? You know what I mean? Like, a manatee is just a great fucking animal. I've always wanted to see them. I almost had a chance when I was dating my meanest ex-girlfriend. She tried to bribe me into continuing to date her by offering me a trip to Florida to see manatees, and I actually turned it down. I said no. And, you know, hey, what are you going to do? So anyway, it's just, you know, manatees are great, and it's really the idea of, like, there's a lot, like, again, chimpanzees. If someone told me that a chimpanzee fucked his brother to death at the zoo, I'd be like, that's wild, but also, like, that tracks completely.
I would believe it in a heartbeat.
Yeah,
I probably would not crack a smile because it would have been the most horrifying scene in history.
Yeah. And there was like, he, like, forced his brother to maintain eye contact while he killed all his children, and
exactly. Like, exactly.
Manatees, it's like, Jesus Christ. Like,
like, how the fuck did you finish that? God damn.
Nothing is so. Okay, so I mentioned that there was another article that came up when I was looking at this, and so this came out yesterday, actually. It's a sort of sequel article.
Yeah.
So this is like a sequel article by Brooke Steinberg from August 2nd. Stop calling 911 on mating manatees, sheriffs beg. They are more than fine. Summer is heating up for Florida manatees.
Oh my
God. The Pinella County Sheriff's Office shared on Facebook that they get calls, quote, all the time about passersby seeing manatees by the shore clumped together. People will call after seeing this startling sight, assuming that the manatees are in distress, but they're actually just mating. If you see this, no you didn't, the sheriff's office captioned a reel on Facebook, which shows a clump of manatees near the shore of Marvin Gaye's Let's Get It On playing over it. We can assure you that they are more than fine. Manatees actually mate in herds like these, and often they are near the shore. They mate all throughout the year, but generally mating herds like these are seen in the summer months. So basically, long story short,
manatees are fucking certified freaks 7 days a week.
They are, but also, like, it's funny because I'm sure that these calls are picking up after the story came out because people in Florida are like, oh my God, it's another gay manatee
brothers fucking on the beach over here.
I can't have my kids see. It's like, dude, look, man, the manatees gotta fuck. If you want more manatees, they gotta fuck. That's how most creatures do it.
I mean,
on
honestly,
Earth.
this is the zookeeper's fault for having only 2 manatees, both boys, and having them be brothers.
Yeah,
you gotta bust sometimes.
Well, and it's also just like another argument for not having creatures in such small enclosures because it's like it happens to people too. You put a bunch of people in a prison, freaky shit starts happening. People go nuts, and I don't know. Happens to manatees too, I guess.
Yeah.
You leave them in there long enough. They've been there since
1996.
Experience. They've been there since 1996 without getting any nookie. Yeah. At some point. Do
you think they finally had like a manatee conversation where Buffett just goes up to Hugh and he was just like, "Listen, Hugh, I'm bigger than you. I haven't busted regular type in a couple decades. So you and me, we're gonna fuck, and that's just how it's gonna be."
I just keep thinking of remember the Booty Warrior?
No.
You've definitely seen this. I'm going to find it, and I'll play it for you. And then they end up... It's a real guy, but then they famously spoofed him on the Boondocks, which is one of my favorite shows of all time. Fleece Johnson, the Booty Warrior.
But when Lockup visited Kentucky State Penitentiary, we met Fleece Johnson, a longtime inmate who practices a very different kind of homosexuality.
But we have sexual desires, right? So you got a bunch of men locked up in one place. All of them get hard. All of them's horny. All of them got sexual desires. So what are they going to do? You won't let them have a woman. They gonna have each of somebody's gonna have to give us some booty. And it's just that simple.
The most memorable story that Fleece told us was about the place and importance that booty has in a maximum security penitentiary. And he went on about it and on about it.
In his prison, booty. Booty was more important than food. Booty. A man's butt.
A man's butt?
It was more important. I'm sorry. It was more booty, having some booty, was more important than drinking water, man. I like booty.
Johnson went on to tell our crew how he used to satisfy his sexual desires, especially during the 1970s and 80s, when he was most active and prison security was more lax.
When I see one, and he looks good to me, when I go see him, I say, you come here. I say, I'm telling you what, I like you, and I want you. And we can do it the easy way or the hard way. So the choice is yours, right? And it was always yes.
Dude, and then it ends with the guy saying Johnson even let our camera crew knew that 20 years ago he would have tried to rape them. Dude, it's insane. So, but yeah, the booty warrior, Fleece Johnson. The choice is yours. We can do this the easy way or the hard way. And that's how I envision Buffett approaching Hugh. I like you, and I want you.
Yeah.
Anyway.
All right, so I think that should about wrap it up, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's an hour. That's an hour right there. Well, thank you guys so much for listening, as always, to Left Unread. I'm Cam. This is Evan. We're happy to have had you here in our beautiful home, and we hope that you'll please join us again sometime. Continue to, smash that like button.
Smash
follow.
that motherfucking like button.
Subscribe. Review.
Hit that motherfucking review.
Share with your friends, and I will make no more promises about when we'll have things ready for you, and so that I can't break them. I'll be your deadbeat dad. And we'll see you guys next week or whenever, sometime. There'll be more Left Unread. We're not done with the show.
So thanks for tuning in, guys. We'll see you next time. Peace.
Bye.
It's years since you've been there, and now you disappeared somewhere, like out of space. You found some better place, and I miss you, like the deserts miss the rain, and I miss you, oh, like the deserts miss the rain. And could you be dead? You always were 2 steps ahead of everyone. You walked behind while you would run. I look up at your house, and I can almost hear you shout down to me, where I walking down your street again, past your door. I guess you don't live there anymore. It's years since you've been there, and now you've disappeared somewhere, like out of space. You found some better place, and I miss you. Yeah, and I miss you. You found some better place.